Listen to me closely. There are moments in life when nothing on the outside seems to be changing, but everything on the inside is being rearranged. You wake up with a weight you can't explain, a pressure you didn't ask for, and a sense that something is shifting beneath your feet. You thought it was confusion, you thought it was delay, you thought it was trouble, but what if it's preparation? What if the very tension you're feeling right now is evidence that heaven is setting something in motion? I need you to hear this, because this is not an ordinary season. This is not random frustration. This is not wasted waiting. There are times when God doesn't announce the blessing with fireworks, He announces it with stretching. Before elevation, there is agitation. Before increase, there is interruption. Before breakthrough, there is a shaking that makes you question everything you thought was stable. And if you don't understand the signs, you'll mislabel the process. Some of you are here tonight because you feel pressed on every side. Relationships are being tested. Doors are closing that you prayed would stay open. Your patience is running thin. Your faith is being challenged, and your prayers feel heavier than they used to. But I came to tell you that when God is about to give you something big, He always leaves clues. He always sends signals. He always marks the moment before the miracle. This message is not for people who are comfortable. It's for people who are becoming. It's for the ones who feel the stretch, the resistance, the holy discomfort. If you've been wondering why nothing feels the same anymore, why your spirit won't settle for less, why the old patterns no longer satisfy you, then lean in. Because when God is about to release something greater than you've ever held, there are signs you cannot ignore. And tonight, you're about to see them. When God is about to give you something big, pressure becomes unavoidable, not because you are failing, but because you are being prepared. Pressure has a way of revealing what comfort can never expose. It squeezes out weakness, exposes hidden strength, and forces you to confront parts of yourself you would otherwise ignore. Many people mistake pressure for punishment, but in truth, it is often confirmation. You are not being crushed, you are being shaped. What feels like resistance is actually refinement, and what feels like delay is often divine alignment taking place behind the scenes. Unexpected challenges tend to appear all at once in these seasons. It feels like as soon as you solve one problem, another one rises up in its place. You ask yourself why things suddenly became harder when you were trying to do better. But growth demands resistance. Muscles do not develop without weight, and faith does not mature without adversity. These challenges are not meant to stop you. They are meant to stretch your capacity so you can hold what is coming. God will not release a blessing that will break you. He prepares the vessel before He pours the oil. Pressure also has a way of pushing you into deeper dependence. When everything was easy, you relied on routine, on people, on your own ability to manage outcomes. But now, the familiar supports feel unreliable. Plans don't work the way they used to. Your strength runs out faster than before. This is intentional. God is gently removing crutches so that your confidence can shift from what you can control to who He is. What you're learning in this pressure-filled season is how to trust without evidence and how to stand without reassurance. Increased pressure often comes with emotional strain. You may find yourself more sensitive, more aware of your limitations, more conscious of your fears. Small issues feel heavier than they once did. Conversations linger in your mind. Decisions feel weighty. This is not weakness, it is awareness. God is sharpening your discernment. Before He elevates you, He heightens your sensitivity so you can handle responsibility with wisdom. When something big is coming, God refines not only your actions, but your reactions. Unexpected challenges also expose relationships. Under pressure, you begin to notice who strengthens you and who drains you. Some people withdraw when the season gets heavy. Others reveal intentions that were previously hidden. This can be painful, but it is necessary. God often uses pressure to clarify alignment. Everyone cannot go where you are being taken. The weight of what's ahead requires lighter baggage, clearer boundaries, and stronger spiritual focus. Losing certain connections now prevents greater damage later. Pressure will test your obedience. You will be tempted to compromise, to rush, to take shortcuts just to escape discomfort. This is where the real work happens. God is watching how you respond when obedience is inconvenient. Will you stay faithful when the reward isn't visible yet? Will you remain disciplined when it would be easier to quit? These moments shape your character more than your comfort ever could. What you do in the press determines how you stand in the promise. Most importantly, pressure confirms proximity to purpose. Resistance intensifies when you are close to breakthrough. The enemy does not waste energy on people who are standing still. The heat increases when the gold is almost pure. If everything is pressing against you, it may be because you are carrying something valuable. Instead of asking why it's so hard, begin to ask what is being formed in you. This pressure is not meant to destroy you. It is preparing you to carry something big, something lasting, something that will require strength you are developing right now. When God is about to give you something big, one of the most painful signs you will experience is separation, not because people are bad, but because alignment is changing. There comes a point in your journey where familiar faces, comfortable places, and long-standing connections can no longer support the weight of where you are being taken. What once felt safe now feels limiting, and what once energized you now quietly drains you. This separation is not rejection, it is redirection. Often, this season begins subtly. Conversations feel forced, shared values no longer align. You find yourself growing quiet around people you once laughed with freely. It's not that love has disappeared, but growth has created distance. God begins to shift your appetite, your priorities, and your perspective. You can no longer pretend to fit where you've outgrown the space. Staying would require you to shrink, and God will never ask you to diminish yourself to preserve comfort. Separation also shows up geographically or circumstantially. Doors close unexpectedly. Opportunities you depended on disappear. You may be forced out of routines that once defined your stability. This can be frightening because it feels like loss, but often it is protection. God knows that if certain doors stayed open, you would never walk through the ones meant to elevate you. He allows endings so that you can be available for beginnings you did not yet see. This season tests your loyalty. You will wrestle with guilt, wondering if you are being ungrateful or disloyal by letting go. But obedience sometimes requires leaving what is familiar for what is faithful. God is not asking you to dishonor the past. He is asking you not to live there. What served you in one chapter may sabotage you in the next. The grace that carried you before may not be the grace that will sustain you where you are going. Separation exposes misplaced dependence. When God begins to remove people and places you leaned on, it reveals where your security truly rested. You may realize how much reassurance you drew from others' approval, how much confidence came from being needed, how much peace depended on predictability. God gently removes these supports not to leave you empty, but to fill you with something stronger. He wants your foundation to be unshakable, rooted in Him rather than in human consistency. There is often grief in this process. Even necessary separation can hurt. You may mourn relationships that didn't end badly but ended quietly. You may miss versions of yourself that thrive in those environments. Allow yourself to grieve without guilt. Letting go does not mean you failed. It means the assignment changed. God does not waste connections, but not every connection is permanent. Some people are assigned to your process, not your promise. As painful as it is, separation creates clarity. In the silence that follows, you begin to hear God more clearly. Without constant noise, influence, and expectation, your identity settles. You discover what you actually believe, what you truly desire, and what you are willing to sacrifice. This clarity is essential because where God is taking you will require confidence, not consensus. Separation also prepares you for new relationships aligned with your future. God never removes without intention to replace, but He replaces in His timing, not yours. He first teaches you how to stand alone without feeling lonely, how to be whole without external validation. When the new connections arrive, they will recognize your purpose, not just your personality. If you are in a season where people and places are falling away, do not panic. Do not chase what is leaving. Trust the hand that is guiding the release. God is not stripping you. He is streamlining you. What remains will be what can go the distance. This separation is not the end of your story. It is the clearing of the path for something much bigger than what you had to leave behind. When God is about to give you something big, one of the clearest signs is an inner restlessness that refuses to let you settle. On the outside, things may look stable. You may be doing well by every visible measure, yet inside there is a quiet dissatisfaction you cannot silence. What once felt like enough no longer satisfies your spirit. You try to talk yourself into being grateful for where you are, but something within you keeps whispering that this is not the end of your story. This restlessness is not greed, and it is not ingratitude. It is alignment shifting. This kind of restlessness doesn't come from comparison or pressure from others. It comes from purpose awakening. God begins to stir a hunger that comfort cannot feed. You start to question routines you once accepted without thought. You feel uneasy repeating cycles that no longer challenge you. The same prayers, the same goals, the same level of effort suddenly feel too small. God is expanding your vision before He expands your reality. He allows dissatisfaction so you will stop settling for what is safe and start reaching for what is significant. Restlessness often shows up as impatience with stagnation. You become more aware of wasted time and unrealized potential. You feel a strong pull to grow, to learn, to change. Even when you cannot fully explain why, staying in the same place begins to feel heavier than the risk of moving forward. This internal tension is not meant to torment you. It is meant to mobilize you. God uses discomfort to push you out of complacency and into obedience. In this season, familiar achievements feel empty. Applause no longer motivates you the way it once did. Recognition doesn't quiet your soul. You may even accomplish things you once prayed for, only to realize they no longer bring fulfillment. This can be confusing and discouraging if you don't understand the process. But this emptiness is not a sign that you chose the wrong path. It is a sign that God is calling you higher. What fulfilled you at one level cannot sustain you at the next. Restlessness also exposes misalignment between who you are becoming and what you are doing. You may feel pulled toward deeper purpose, greater impact, or more meaningful contribution. Small thinking starts to irritate you. Surface level conversations leave you unsatisfied. You crave depth, authenticity, and direction. God is refining your appetite so that you no longer hunger for distractions that keep you busy but unfulfilled. He is training your desire to recognize substance over noise. This season can feel lonely because not everyone understands your unrest. People around you may tell you that you are overthinking or expecting too much. They may remind you of how far you've come and encourage you to stay comfortable. But God often speaks through holy dissatisfaction, not external validation. If you silence this restlessness to please others, you risk silencing the very signal guiding you toward your next assignment. Restlessness forces you to examine your faith. You begin to ask deeper questions about why you do what you do and who you are really doing it for. You become more sensitive to compromise and more uncomfortable with mediocrity. This internal stirring pushes you toward prayer, reflection, and honest self-evaluation. God is preparing your heart to handle more responsibility, more influence, and more weight. It is important to respond to restlessness with wisdom, not impulse. This is not a call to abandon everything overnight, but it is a call to pay attention. God is awakening your awareness so you can prepare mentally, spiritually, and emotionally for what is ahead. Restlessness is the alarm clock of purpose. It rings before the doors open, before the opportunity appears, before the blessing is visible. If you feel unsettled, even though things look fine, don't suppress it. Don't shame yourself for wanting more. Let that unrest drive you closer to God, not farther from Him. Something is shifting. Something is calling you forward. This dissatisfaction is not the problem. It is the invitation. You are being stirred because you are being summoned into something bigger than where you are right now. When God is about to give you something big, you will often encounter closed doors that force you to trust Him at a deeper level than ever before. These are not ordinary disappointments. They are moments where every logical option seems blocked and your usual strategies no longer work. You knock, you apply, you try again, and nothing opens. At first, it feels like rejection, like failure, like being overlooked, but closed doors are often the loudest form of divine guidance. God closes doors not to frustrate you, but to protect you from paths that would limit your future. There are opportunities that look good but are not God. There are open doors that lead to small rooms when God has prepared a wide space for you elsewhere. If every door stayed open, You would walk into places that drain your purpose, delay your calling, or cost you peace. God closes certain doors because he sees what you cannot see, and he loves you too much to let you settle for less than what he designed. These closed doors challenge your faith because they remove control. You are used to planning, predicting, and positioning yourself. But when doors close, planning feels useless and positioning feels pointless. This is where trust becomes real. Faith is easy when options exist. Trust is tested when there are none. God uses these moments to teach you how to rely on his timing instead of your urgency, his wisdom instead of your understanding. Closed doors also expose motives. You begin to ask yourself why you wanted certain things so badly. Was it for security, validation, status, or approval? God doesn't just care about where you go. He cares about why you go there. When he shuts a door, he invites you to examine your heart. This refining process ensures that when the right door opens, you enter it for the right reasons and with the right posture. In these seasons, prayer often changes. You stop praying for specific outcomes and start praying for direction. You ask less for control and more for clarity. You begin to realize that God is more interested in who you are becoming than what you are achieving. This shift deepens your relationship with him. You move from transactional faith to transformational faith, where trust is no longer based on results but on relationship. Closed doors can make you feel exposed and vulnerable. Without options, you are forced to wait. Waiting strips away distractions and reveals impatience, fear, and doubt. But it also builds endurance, humility, and resilience. God uses waiting rooms to strengthen your inner life so you can stand firm when the door finally opens. If he opened it too soon, the weight of what's inside would overwhelm you. There are times when closed doors protect you from future pain you cannot yet imagine. You may feel disappointed now, but years later you will thank God for the door that never opened. Some relationships, careers, and opportunities look promising at first, but carry hidden consequences. God sees the end from the beginning. His no is often mercy in disguise, steering you away from unnecessary loss. As difficult as it is, closed doors also sharpen discernment. You become more sensitive to God's voice because you have fewer alternatives. You learn to listen, to wait, and to obey even when the path is unclear. This sensitivity is crucial because the doors God opens next will require discernment to recognize and courage to walk through. If you are standing in front of closed doors right now, do not assume you are forgotten. Do not interpret silence as absence. God is working in the unseen, aligning people, timing, and circumstances in your favor. These closed doors are not setbacks, they are setup moments. They are forcing you to trust deeper so that when the right door opens, you will walk through it with confidence, gratitude, and unshakable faith. When God is about to give you something big, there is often a noticeable shift in your spiritual sensitivity and an urgency in your prayer life that you cannot ignore. You become more aware of spiritual movements, more alert to what is happening beneath the surface of everyday life. Things that once went unnoticed now stir your spirit. You sense when something is off, when something is aligning, and when something requires immediate prayer. This is not anxiety, it is discernment awakening. You may find yourself drawn to prayer at unusual times. Late nights, early mornings, quiet moments where your heart feels heavy without explanation. Your prayers become less casual and more intentional. You are no longer satisfied with surface-level words or routine phrases. There is a depth in your communication with God that feels urgent, almost desperate, yet full of expectancy. This urgency is not fear-driven, it is purpose-driven. God is tuning your spirit to hear more clearly, because what is coming will require spiritual awareness. Heightened sensitivity also changes how you respond to people and environments. You may feel uneasy in places you once felt comfortable. Certain conversations drain you faster than before. Negative energy, compromise, and dishonesty stand out sharply. This sensitivity is God sharpening your boundaries. Before He increases your influence, He refines your discernment. You must be able to sense what to embrace and what to avoid. What you tolerate now can affect what you carry later. This season often brings a stronger conviction toward righteousness. You become more aware of habits, thoughts, and attitudes that no longer align with who you are becoming. Things you once justified now trouble your conscience. This is not condemnation, it is elevation. God is cleaning the vessel because He is preparing to pour something valuable into it. He increases sensitivity so you will guard what He is about to entrust to you. Urgency in prayer also comes from a deeper understanding of dependence. You realize that what is ahead cannot be handled by talent, strength, or experience alone. You need God's guidance, protection, and wisdom. This realization pushes you into consistent prayer, not as a ritual, but as lifeline. You pray before decisions. You pray during waiting. You pray not only for outcomes, but for alignment with God's will. Prayer becomes less about asking and more about partnering with heaven. In this season, distractions lose their appeal. You feel a pull away from noise and business. Silence becomes sacred. Worship feels deeper. Scripture feels alive. God is drawing you closer because proximity matters when something big is about to be released. He does not want distance to dilute direction. The closer you are, the clearer the instruction. Heightened spiritual sensitivity can also bring spiritual resistance. You may notice intensified opposition, unusual discouragement, or increased temptation. This is not coincidence. Resistance often increases when you are close to breakthrough. That is why prayer becomes urgent. You are not just praying for blessing, you are praying for strength, clarity, and protection. God allows this awareness so you are not caught unprepared. Urgency in prayer also refines your focus. You stop praying vague prayers and start praying specific ones. You ask for wisdom, timing, and obedience. You pray for your heart to remain humble and your motives to stay pure. God is aligning your inner life with your future responsibility. What He is about to give you will require spiritual maturity, not just excitement. If you find yourself more sensitive, more prayerful, and more spiritually alert than ever before, do not ignore it. This is not random. God is positioning you. He is inviting you into deeper communion because something significant is approaching. This urgency is not pressure, it is preparation. Heaven is signaling that the moment is near, and God is making sure your spirit is ready to recognize it, receive it, and steward it well. As we come to the end of this message, I want you to understand something clearly. What you are experiencing right now is not accidental. The pressure, the separation, the restlessness, the closed doors, and the deep pull toward prayer are not signs that God has turned away from you. They are signs that He is working closer than you realize. These moments may feel uncomfortable, confusing, even painful, but they are evidence that something is being prepared beyond what your eyes can currently see. Every sign you've heard about today points to one truth: God never releases something big without first preparing the person who will carry it. He prepares your character before your calling, your faith before your favor, and your heart before your harvest. If He allowed you to walk into the blessing without this preparation, it would overwhelm you instead of elevate you. So what feels like delay is actually development. What feels like loss is often alignment. What feels like silence is often strategy. Do not rush this season. Do not resent it. Do not misinterpret it. Stay faithful under pressure. Trust God in the separation. Listen to the restlessness without acting in fear. Respect the closed doors without forcing your way through them. Lean into prayer with humility and expectancy. Everything God is doing in you right now is intentional. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is random. If you remain obedient in this season, you will look back and realize that these signs were not warnings, they were confirmations. Confirmation that you were being stretched for increase. Confirmation that you were being refined for responsibility. Confirmation that heaven was clearing the path ahead of you. What God is about to release will make sense of the struggle, give meaning to the waiting, and reward the faith you held onto when it would have been easier to quit. So stand firm, keep trusting, keep praying, keep moving forward. Even when the way feels uncertain, you are closer than you think. The signs are already speaking. And when what God has promised finally manifests, you will know without a doubt that this season was not meant to break you. It was meant to prepare you for something bigger than you ever imagined.